Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of this Dreamhouse, the show that's all about the house. Joining us today is a Marine, an MMA fighter, and soon to be teacher, Liz Carmouche. Liz, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I was going to say that's a lot of tough jobs, but I think the last one might even be the toughest. So, what was life like growing up in Japan?
It was great. Okinawa in particular is a very strong sense of community. And so everything that they teach, everything they do is about the betterment of everybody. So it's kind of a unified front in helping raise children and helping grow up. It is an island, so I was always 5 minutes away from the ocean, able to go play in the water, be a jungle child when I wanted to. It was a great place.
Oh, sounds amazing. What
Wow.
inspi- what inspired you to join the Marine Corps?
So also living in Okinawa, they have all the military branches. And I worked on the bases. My father had been in the Air Force, and so I really got a different insight into the military, getting to work with them. And I just knew that school wasn't for me. It wasn't something that I enjoyed, and I needed to do something else with my life now that I was going into adulthood. And the military just called out to me as an opportunity. I also had a lot of family that lived in New York City during 9/11, and it was just a strong calling to join the military. And of all the branches, the Marine Corps just stood out above all of them.
Well, we greatly appreciate your service. What did you learn during your 3 tours of duty in the Middle East?
I would say overcoming adversity. I mean, I of course learned about the culture. I learned the language. I got to actually go out and see the people that live there, but a whole different perspective than you would as a civilian, being able to actually immerse yourself in the culture. But my big takeaways from all of those tours was how to overcome adversity and to stay strong to myself through it all.
Yeah, I was going to say, being an MMA fighter, I'm sure overcoming adversity is an important part of that. Has that helped with your career?
Absolutely. Knowing what I can endure and go through in Iraq and those stresses, and like I said, overcoming adversity has certainly translated well into MMA and helping me overcome days when I want to quit training or just take a break. I'm able to keep pushing through knowing the things I've already overcome.
Now, normally when we have a pioneer on in the sport, it makes it sound like they're old, but clearly not the case with you because it wasn't that long ago that you had the first ever women's MMA match in the UFC. How did it feel to compete in that match?
At the time, it seemed like it was everything that it was meant to be. And now looking back, it's still crazy to me just because I didn't think that I was any more special than anyone else to be deserving to have that opportunity. And it's just blows my mind still that I even participated and to see it evolve to where it is today.
What kind of work environment is the UFC?
um, it's independent contractors, and I would say that they're certainly focused on making the big dollar. Um, I mean, with it being an independent contractor, you don't have the restrictions of certain guidelines on what you can or can't do. So they certainly allow for a lot of freedom to be able to do that. So you can grow and achieve whatever you want to.
At UFC on Fox 11, you were part of the co-main event. Do you feel that women's MMA is being given the same respect as men's MMA?
No, not at all. I certainly feel like we're heading that direction as you see more divisions open up, more women headlining fights, both as main event, co-main events, that it's certainly headed in that direction. And there are certain organizations that are trying to highlight women above them all. I just don't think we're there yet. Men are still the main draw for any fights, the main ones talked about. It's who everybody knows about, but we're certainly heading in a direction to highlight women as being just on the same level as men.
But when it comes to equality in sports, you have to say MMA is probably one of the best at it. I mean, compared to like basketball, where there is definitely a pay disparity between the NBA and the WNBA.
And you certainly see that in MMA as well. I think it's less talked about, especially in the UFC, for risk of getting blacklisted or getting cut from the UFC. But there's still absolutely huge disparity, especially when it comes to sponsorship. sponsorship money. I can know one of my fighters, one of my training partners at the time, who he wasn't even ranked in the top 50. Here I am ranked in the top 10 in the world, and he was getting paid 6 times more than I was just in
Oh,
sponsorship money. And then in fight money, he was getting paid significantly more than that. And for being on the Facebook fights, and I'm the co-main event. So yeah, there's still a huge disparity in pay that is very similar that you see in team sports. So it's not there yet, but organizations like Bellator is doing a really good job about trying to pay the fighters what they deserve.
at the time of your departure from the UFC, you were ranked fourth in the women's flyweight rankings. What happened? Why'd you leave?
I didn't. The UFC cut me. I was on a media tour for them. I was walking out of a cancer ward, having done a PR tour of all things, to find out from a friend that I'd gotten cut from the UFC. Reached out to my management. The UFC had met a huge miscommunication between their PR team and their head of the department. And there was no clear indication other than I was clearing out the division and they didn't have anybody else for me to fight.
Oh, wow. So the problem was you were doing too good and you were doing too much good work for them by doing the PR and all that. And they got, wow, that doesn't make any sense. Well, this will be a nice change. How great is it to compete in Bellator MMA?
It's been great. I wish that I had had the opportunity to fight in Bellator before COVID because I feel like I have a such flawed view of what Bellator is actually like. But I mean, it's a small staff. When I was in the UFC, it was constantly I would talk to someone, and then later on, I'm reaching out to them like, hey, I need to do this, and they're like, yeah, sorry, I don't work for the UFC anymore. You could contact somebody else. I'm like, okay, who am I supposed to talk to? And I would never. It was such a revolving door. And with Bellator, it's such a nice, tight group of people. It's the same people I see every time. And when Bellator told me that they want to guarantee that I have 2 fights a year at minimum, they've stuck to that. So even when I've had my first fight, I had 4 different opponents lined up. And Bellator said, like, no, when we said we're going to get you an opponent, we will find somebody anywhere in the world to make sure that fights happen. And I can't say that I've had that experience in other organizations I fought for. So that alone, to me, speaks volumes about Bellator. And they're all about trying to make sure that the fighters are taken care of. And it's really about the fighters because they understand that's what makes their fights. And so it's been great for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. They're a top-notch organization. We used to work with Tuttle, and they're
Okay.
yeah, great guy. He would get us a bunch of really top-notch guests to be on the show, and we always enjoyed working with him. And yeah, I can't say enough nice things about Bellator MMA. My only complaint, I guess, is they don't really have many fights in Cincinnati, Kentucky, and Indiana because we would we would love to have them come to town and support their events in person as opposed to just on TV.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Well, I'll have to maybe tell them that, and they have to work on it.
I think you've kind of already covered this, but we're going to ask it anyway. The difference between Bellator and UFC.
I'd say a big thing is that the hardest thing with Bellator is trying to nail down when they're having fights. And so you don't know if they're having it on a Thursday, on a Friday, on a Saturday. And really, to me, that's only the distinct difference is that you can see that the skill level of the fighters, whether it's that they're former UFC fighters that have either left or been cut and moved into Bellator, or just Bellator has done such a great job at finding this talent, is the skill level is equally as good Bellator as it is in the UFC. So you can't really compare those. Really, I would say it's just trying to figure out when you can watch them. It's so hard to keep up with Bellator, with whether it's on an app, whether it's on Showtime. That's really the only distinct difference. It's not in performance. Well, and also their ability to allow the fighters to have their own sponsors without taking a cut, forcing them to wear clothing that they don't want to wear.
Yeah, I was going to say that is a huge thing that they're able, because I mean, after all, like you said earlier, you're independent contractors. You should be able to wear what you would like to wear and be able to have your own sponsors as opposed to have their agenda pushed down your throats.
Yes, absolutely.
We're excited. Actually, it's so cool because we got you this week, and then we got Logan Storley next week. So we got back to back
Nice.
great Bellator fighters, and we're just so excited about covering MMA and covering Bellator here on the Dream House. Currently, you're ranked fourth in Bellator's women's pound for pound and second in the Bellator's flyweight rankings. What are your plans for 2022?
My plans for 2022 are to take that belt and keep it. You know,
Nice.
um, I train all year round. I'm ready all the time. I mean, my last fight I took on 3.5, 4 weeks notice because I stay ready all the time. And they know that, hey, I'm the person that if somebody falls out, give me a call. I'll be the person that takes that fight. And when I get a belt, it's not the hopes of, well, I'm just going to party and enjoy this time and lay back now that I have the belt. No, it's to then clean out the entire division and really let them know that I'm the person that deserves it and fight as often as I can. If I can get 3 or 4 fights in the year, that would be phenomenal.
Now, this isn't the only thing you have in common with him, but it is a thing you have in common with him. Our one of our favorite guests is Dan the Beast Severn. We've had him on many times. Obviously, your fighting background definitely relates, but also your passion for CBD and how the benefits for fighters and for people's health.
Yeah, I do believe in CBD. Having been in the Marine Corps, and anytime that you have a bang up, you're hurt. What they always prescribe you is tons of Motrin, 1,000 milligrams of Motrin, multiple times a day, and just to get back out there. And that comes with side effects and consequences. And I can't say the same is true of CBD. And I much prefer the idea of not having yellow teeth for taking something that kind of helps with inflammation. And take CBD that helps with anxiety and with inflammation. And I really do believe in just trying to find more holistic medicine to help. I'm not opposed to Western medicine. I'm not opposed to going to doctors, but I certainly think that there are other ways that we can achieve health without having to compromise our bodies and long-term damage to do it.
I was going to say, if you keep progressing the way you are, you might have the word or the title doctor at the beginning. I understand you're getting your degree in kinesiology at San Diego City College. Is that correct?
I was. I started to go to school for it, and I was using the GI Bill. And so it
Oh,
had a
cool.
requirement of a minimum for classes that we take in a semester to be able to do that. But like I said, I'm not a school person, and it was really getting in the way of fighting for me. So I decided to just settle down with getting my associates in psychology, and have now just been doing fighting. And I was an entrepreneur running a few gyms, and that's really just been the concentration is gym life.
That's awesome. I was going to say that's so cool that you were able to go back, get your education, and then still continue your passion and your dream of becoming the world champ.
Yeah, yeah, it's been pretty cool.
So before we let you go, when is your next fight?
I was told that I would hopefully have a fight coming up in December, and then it got postponed to February, and now they're saying that they're not sure when they're going to book me for a fight. So I'm just staying ready, hoping that that call comes soon, and that it's to go bring that belt home.
So in other words, though, but we can say 2022. There's definitely going to be some fighting.
Absolutely, yeah. If I'm not fighting in 2022, I'm losing my mind.
Well, we don't want that to happen. So before we let you go, Liz, where on social media, where on the web, where can we find out more about you as a fighter and as a person?
Yeah, I'm on a few different things. I'm on millions.co, and you can find me there. I'm on Facebook as Liz Carmouche Official, and on Instagram and Twitter as I am Girlrilla.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.